SoundCartel.
The world of family business. It sounds good on the face of it, but it's laden with eggshells for family members to tiptoe around or smash, depending on the individual personality. The goal is ensuring everyone's needs are met and household peace maintained. The challenge is getting there. From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. We all know that family and business can be a contentious mix. Autocratic leaders to next-generation rivalries, money issues, jealousies, different aims and aspirations. A family business can move from the most harmonious of operations to the equivalent of World War III. And long-term business coach Bryan Worn has seen it all. He's also come up with some solutions to help restore harmony and keep everyone on an even keel. So what does Bryan believe are the biggest challenges in family business? He's talking to Heather Dawson.
I've worked out that in my experience there are three main areas. The first is family expectations and entitlements. The second one is compensation, which is different from the expectations and entitlements because it's purely about money. And the third one is separation of roles. When am I a dad and when am I going to be a CEO, for example? So they're the three main areas. I'll give you an example of that. Was a young client working in the family business called me one afternoon, went off his brain about his dad calling a meeting at 4:30. And he said, he knows I do the gym. And So he ranted at me for 3 minutes and I said to him, look, what I heard was that the CEO of a business that pays you very well has asked you to attend an urgent meeting this afternoon. And he said, thank you, Bryan. I knew you'd come up with something. And that was the thing. He was confusing the dad role with the owner role.
Well, you've devised a family business success model. Can you explain what it is, Bryan?
From the bottom up, Heather, there are some family businesses that are absolutely in crisis. They just seem to have potential disasters at every turn. The next level up from that, which is probably more frequent, which is just chaos, where it's one drama after another. People are interacting all wrong. Then you get the one that's a bit better than that, but it's got terrible confusion because nobody's leading, no one knows what to do. Then you get ones that have good clarity, and that means they have a plan. They're not sure how they're going to implement it, but they do have a plan. And then we get consensus. But the best family businesses are the ones that achieve cohesion, where the family are bonded as a family, the business is solid, and they separate the business of the family from the business.
So it's important to separate family life from work life? Is that even possible?
It's not possible in terms of people's thinking, but certain events should have rules. A family dinner should be a family dinner. A business meeting should be a business. And the way we deal with that is a thing called spatial anchoring, where we anchor personal events to certain places and business discussions to other places. And it applies equally with couples in business. It's very important to know where is a safe place in terms of having personal conversations versus something being turned into a business conversation.
Can the issue of remuneration or compensation be a tricky one for family businesses?
Yeah, it is. And I think it happens because, like most parents want to do the right thing by and for the children. So we always tend to spoil it. We always want to make our generation better than the generation before us. So in certain family businesses, people are paid too much, and in others, actually, they're paid too little because the business owners, particularly mum and dad, try to retain control of the kids through money. I mean, I know one where a guy doesn't get any salary. They just pay all his bills and give an allowance every week. And that was fine until he got married. And his wife didn't want to have a bar of that kind of a relationship, which I totally understand. So we need to work out a commercial salary. That's the best solution. The other thing that happens is we can get sibling jealousy. This is where somebody outside the business has a brother or sister in it and assumes they're being overpaid, even though they don't know what they're getting. And another one is where somebody guy working in a business works very hard and sees part of the profits going to a brother or sister who's not working in the business. So it creates all sorts of rivalries and jealousies.
Well, you spoke earlier on about expectations for family members in a business, not necessarily the same as remuneration, money.
Yeah.
How do you suggest that they are addressed, those sorts of issues?
Well, the first step is, just like you would with any employee, you have a position description, you have an employment agreement, and everything's set out in there. And that position description and employment agreement would reflect just the normal things about annual leave, remuneration, and so on. And the non-working family members should understand exactly what it is, that people are paid a commercial salary. That's the first thing. The second thing to do is to have regular performance reviews to make sure that the family member that's working in the business is actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. And you have remuneration reviews too. And that's about deciding whether, if they were a third party, you would give them a pay rise or not, or a bonus. But one of the big ones I find is that family members working in a business, and I had this, by the way, in one of my family businesses, where a family member thinks they're entitled to get more time off because they're a family member. And you have to treat them like any other employee. So one of the best things to do in a family business is build it up to a stage where you put in a manager between yourself and the family members working in the business.
Yes, because otherwise what are the big issues for non-family members of a family business?
This is another minefield in family businesses, because those people don't see a career path, and when they don't see one, they stay around for a certain period of time and then leave. And then all that intellectual property goes out the door because they don't see a future. Second thing is that they see a lot of perks for family members, and they have to resist the temptation to sort of think, why don't I get those? I'm working harder than that person. So the solution is to pay non-family members well, involve them in all business decisions, and continually acknowledge them for the great effort they're doing, and keep training them. Because one of the consequences of a family business being sold at some stage down the track is that if people haven't been upskilled, they find it very hard to get work out in the marketplace. By the way, that equally applies to the family members. So you should run a business as a business.
But if there are disputes that are crippling the business, for example, how should they get resolved?
In general, in a family business, as with couples, the most effective solution is to bring in an outsider, bring in someone who hasn't got a vested interest in either outcome, who will be there to think of the business, not of the individual people. You know, there's an old saying that a prophet is not recognised in their own town. And family members and even non-family members will tend to listen to an outsider who has got credibility. And if you don't do that, you should ask yourself about every problem on this issue, which is more important, the business or the family.
That was business coach and mentor Bryan Worn. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel.